Beautiful little spot. Kenneth Robert Smith passed away in 2014. G'day Kenneth, how you doing? Come and have a sit with you. I don't know why people think that cemeteries are spooky. I really don't. There's still a lot of people around that do. We find them, in most cases, very peaceful. And, you know, we have an interest in history. You know, you can walk around these graves and you can look at little inscriptions on the graves and see, you know, when the person died. Sometimes it has on the inscription how they died. Sometimes it might tell you they were one of the pioneers of the area. Some inscriptions we've come across have told stories of them being one of the orphan children from Ireland. There's like 400 orphan children came across to one particular area in one cemetery, and a lot of the children were buried there and died of some sort of a disease as they come across here. You know, there's all sorts of little different stories that you can actually pick up on. Cemeteries, even the old cemeteries, I guess people might think they're a little bit spooky because they are old graves. But when you look past that, there's so much history to see. There's so many stories that people can tell you, that the graves can tell you. You know, it might have been a prominent person, and it might have written on the headstone why they were prominent. You can actually research it and look it up. So many different elements to cemeteries. And you get a place like this where they've created like a very, very peaceful sanctuary. It's a very, very peaceful area. And granted, like you walk around, this whole cemetery here is a massive cemetery. Basically you've got to drive around it because it is so huge and there's so many different areas. And yeah, there are some areas that I particularly don't like because I don't like the vibe of it, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything spooky about it. Anywhere you go, you're going to have spirit. You walk out the back door of your house, you're going to have spirit. So, you know, if you get used to that fact and accept it, most of the time spirit don't want to interact with you, but occasionally, if you're lucky, you will get spirit that want to interact with you, and that's great. And there's nothing spooky about it, because after all, when you die, you become spirit. You become one of them. Now, whether you become a lost soul or whether you actually cross over, there's a lot of dependable factors. It depends on what your beliefs are. It depends on if you've got any emotional baggage that is tying you to this earthly plane. You may cross over straight away. You may hang around and make sure that your family's okay for a while before you do cross over. You may be in a position where you don't know how to cross over, so you may need some help from the living. It's part of what you out there can do too. And a lot of it is simplistic stuff. It's putting that thought, that intent out there, that want to help somebody. You can call out, reach out to the other side, reach out for angels, reach out for the spirit's relatives to try to come through, to help guide them through. Just do it simply, you know. Simplicity is the key. And if the spirit's ready, they will cross over. If they're not ready, like I've said before, many times before, you cannot force them. Sometimes they like hanging around where they are because they have this emotional familiarity. And that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, because in their time they will cross over. It's not like they will be stuck on this earthly plane for an eternity. But you find that some are ready, and some do want to be with family who have crossed over. Some probably have tried to communicate with their own living family and yet haven't been able to. And eventually, if they're lucky, they may come across a medium or somebody that's sensitive, or paranormal investigator that knows a little bit about how to help them cross over, and that person can actually help them. So sometimes the spirit does roam around looking for help. There's nothing scary about spirit. They're just people. People without a body. Just like you and me. And that's why we always work with respect, and we teach to respect spirit. Even the ones that are throwing things around, you know, the ones that are a bit aggro, the ones that are a bit pushy, ones that may actually give you a clip over the ears, give you a shove in the back. Perhaps they're trying to get some attention. Maybe they've got some sort of emotional issue. And if you turn around and say, "Alrighty, I know you're here now. What's your problem? Come and talk to me. Try to communicate with me. Maybe we can sort something out." And as soon as you start doing that, they'll do one of two things. Either they'll back off and they'll realise, "Oh, hang on a minute, you know I'm here." And they'll realise, or the second thing is, they will try to communicate with you and they'll try to get out their emotional issues. It's probably something that they've been hanging on to for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years. And maybe you're the person that can say the right words to them to make them think. And in thinking, it changes their whole demeanour, their whole attitude. It may make them question their emotional issues. It may make them question how come they're still here, how come they haven't got family around them. Where are the family? Can they get to the family? Why haven't they got living family around them anymore that can hear them? I mean, that's, if you're a spirit and you're trying desperately to communicate with family that were living, or trying desperately to try and seek out how to connect with family that have crossed over, it's quite a big emotional thing. You know, so quite often paranormal investigators act as counsellors. You can call it spiritual guidance counsellors, you can call it welfare officers, psychologists, call it whatever you like. It's basically a human function to help another human being, whether they're alive or dead. And there's nothing scary about spirit. They're all around us. I can feel them around. I'm not communicating with them now, but I can tell you there are several spirit that I'm feeling and sensing. They're probably sitting there in the background just watching what I'm doing and listening. And perhaps me speaking about that there is a better place to be, that they can connect to family who have passed over and friends who have passed over. Realising that the people, their family that are living will be okay. They have to live their life through. realising that they have left their body, and that in doing that they can join family and friends who have crossed over. Perhaps just putting spirit around that may be listening to this now. It may be seeding their thoughts to think, what am I doing hanging around a cemetery? What am I doing wandering around aimlessly? Yeah, where are my family? Where are my friends that have passed over? Can I connect to them? Maybe it's seeding those sorts of questions into their mind. And once those questions start developing in their mind, connection begins. A great connection from the spirit side. Whatever you want to call it. You could call it heaven, you could call it spirit side, you could call it spirit, different levels, whatever. But a great connection opens up for them once they start questioning. You know, their spiritual mind opens up to different concepts, different ideas. And you find that loved ones hear it. They start reaching out from the other side. Angelic angels, transition angels, start hearing it and think this person is ready now. Let's cross through and try to help them, to reunite them with their family. Perhaps in me sitting here just right now, speaking about these things, perhaps it's seeding spirit, perhaps it's seeding their mind. And perhaps they'll be thinking about what I'm saying. And over a little bit of time, things start happening for them. They start reaching out and start thinking, I want to be with family. And as soon as they do, the other side starts opening up, says you're ready now. You've released all your emotions, you've released your earthly connections. Now, it's time to cross over. Perhaps, I didn't think I'd be sitting here talking about this sort of stuff. I really didn't. But perhaps my guides or spirit that I'm feeling, who I feel are lost, perhaps that's a prompt for me to actually speak about these things. And perhaps it's a catalyst to open up for them and for some of them to cross over. So I send them a lot of love and blessings. We're Black Rose Spirited, that's what we do. Cheers everyone.